What up, YouTube world? This is Hugo back at it with Foster Home Feds and Fighting. And on this platform, we talk about growth, positivity, and good energy, but mostly it's about growth. Um, Never get comfortable being comfortable because at any given moment, life itself can change. So accept the good with the good and the bad, that too shall not last. So don't even worry about it and keep your head up and keep pushing. Um, you know, all these stories that I'm telling you, it's not to glorify my past, it's my testimony. So some of the times when I'm talking about it, it kind of seems like I'm pumped up or living the life in my mind, which I am. I am reliving it, and it's kind of hard sometimes to keep reliving it, right? But at the end, no matter what, as long as I keep, I always tell everybody, they say, why am I so positive and all that, right? But I don't think they know. I tell them, you guys don't understand the battles I go through in my head between right and wrong. I'm telling you, every day I battle between right and wrong. And you might be like, well, you already changed, how come it's still so hard? Because you don't understand, for this whole time of living my life, not that I knew necessarily that it was bad, it was just the way that I had to live my life, right? So that battle still in my head is like, man, you think I wake up every morning and I'm just grateful for that I have to go to work, and which I am. Hold on, let me rewind that. I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful for every breath of air that I get in the morning. So first and foremost, I like to thank God for that. Second of all, what I'm saying is that if you lived your life for a certain way the whole time, and then to, in a minute you had to just switch your whole life over, that's what I mean by still battling with trauma, PTSD, all that. All that comes into play because believe me, it's easier to do bad than good. It's harder to stay good when bad is all around you. So that's what I mean when I fight the battles in my head, and every day the good wins. So I'm grateful for that. I'm thankful for that. So I like to thank once again, like I said, God did. Um, so I like to start by saying, right, I grew up in Fosham, so I grew up all over Modesto, the little towns around Modesto, Riverbank, Oakdale, Empire, Turlock, Ceres, all these little towns. The earth is my turf, so it's not where you're from, is where you're at. Know that. Now, what I like to say is kind of like when I moved to the West, right? That's where I learned the game, not the gang, but the game. That's where I learned the real life cutthroat game. That's when I understood what crack cocaine was. That's when I first seen heroin. That's for living on every other side of town. I've heard about it. I would see stuff on movies, but I never seen it in actual life until I moved into the West. When I moved to the West, oh my God, that right there, that changed my whole life around. I couldn't believe the things I was seeing, all the things that I thought, and I was sheltered growing up. I was sheltered when I was living in a foster home before I started getting into the life of crime. I was sheltered from all this stuff. In some foster homes, they wouldn't even let me watch anything rated R. I had to be PG, not even PG-13. That's how religious some of these foster homes were, and that's what I'm trying to tell you in my last video. How I was hard for me to believe in God when they're forcing it down my throat. But anyways, so I was sheltered to a lot of the stuff that I would see later on. Like when I would go visit my brother at his foster homes, they'd be able to watch rated R movies and stuff like that, and I'd be thinking like, oh my God, like. But I still didn't think it was real. I thought it was kind of like it's a movie. You know what I'm saying? It's just a movie. It's a movie set. So I didn't think that was real. And the only reason why I started thinking that, oh, it's just a movie set. One time, one of my buddies, actually was my boy Mike serving Jesus Christ. It was his mom that had won a lottery ticket where she was able to go to the lot in L.A. to go spin the wheel of fortune type thing, the spinning the thing for the lotto, right? So I know she was able to bring like six people, and since her sons were locked up and I was out, she ended up taking me as well. So she took all the family that was out, and I was the extra six. So I went there, and when I went there, I seen how Hollywood was. I was kind of like, I thought it was like a running movie straight, but it ain't. It's in scenes cut, scene cut, scenes cut. Because I remember they had this little light that would come on to say applause, and we all had applause, and that always stuck with me. Like, man, that's crazy how TV is. So, like I said, before I moved to the West, I thought it was just TV. I didn't know it was real life like that, right? That should blow my mind because when I started seeing it on myself, I was thinking like, dang, right? But anyways, This story is gonna be about a hate crime. How I got in trouble for a hate crime. Now, let me tell you this right now. This is a real quick disclaimer. I'm gonna tell you something. In the life of crime, I believe I'm a real criminal, ex-criminal. Let me throw the air quotations up there, ex-criminal. But I knew the way the game was. Like I said it before, I wasn't against the other gangs that were hating on me. That whatever neighborhood I got put on, all the other gangs that hated that came at me, that was part of the territory. I understood that. I understood the game a long time ago. I understood that I was against the cops. Those are my real enemies. It's a cat and mouse game. I also believe the crimes that I've committed, if I get caught, I'm a man. I'll go do my time. I never ran from my times. I always, like, if I had a court day to go turn myself into, I'll go do it. That's one of the hardest things I think I've ever done is take away my own freedom. I mean, I know people, when they get pulled over, if you don't have money, whatever crime they get you for, you're in jail fighting till you either get OR'd or till, it's settled, right? I wasn't privileged yet to be able to bail out and fight a case. So when I started getting to that part of the spectrum in the game that I was in, the dope game, I was like, to bail out and then fight a case on the street and to turn yourself in, that's the hardest thing I think I've ever done in my whole life. I took losses, but to take my own freedom, like, I'm out here just walking around doing what I do, going to people's house, relaxing, chilling, doing anything I wanted to, and just to go turn myself in for a whole year. That's something I had to look in the mirror and say, Hugo, don't run, do this. And a lot of that had to do with my brother doing his 10 years straight. That made me think, you know what, my brother did it. Don't be no coward. You get caught, you got to do the time, go turn yourself in. But it was hard. That was the hardest thing. I'm not even lying. Think of something that you think that's hard and multiply that with anxiety and all, everything that comes with it, 10 times full. Because, man, that was the hardest thing I think I've ever done was turn myself into a jail cell. Took away my own freedom. It wasn't because I couldn't bail out, because I didn't already bailed out. I didn't already fought the case. The result came in. Now I had to go do my time. I had to go pay for the crime that I committed, and I was okay with that. I was perfectly okay with paying for my own time. You know what I'm saying? I know what game I'm in. Everything else is part of the territory. The money, the women, the hating, the other games. That was all part of the territory. You know what I'm saying? It was all part of what I was doing, and I knew that a long time ago. So it wasn't nothing new. But I just was kind of like, man. So, anyways, I'm gonna tell the story about this change. Now, this made me really believe. This was the reason I needed in God if I needed a reason to believe in. Right? This story I'm gonna tell right now, and this changed a lot of perspective in my life of the way I thought, the way I gave people second chances, the way I got to give them a second chance. So, and I'm gonna tell you this right now. At this part of the story, I forgot when it was, but it was a while ago. It was a while. I'm talking about maybe over 15 years ago. This part of the story was over 15 years ago. It was an easily over 15 years ago, maybe even 20 years ago, like somewhere around that time that this story happened. This story occurred in, right, and then at this time also, if I can remember correctly, I had got put on to the neighborhood that I was representing. I got put on. They put me on. I was a real factor at this moment. I wasn't at the top yet, but I made so my name rang so much in the neighborhood I was from that I was known. I was really known, but my money wasn't where it was at yet because I was still into the little hood thinking. I was thinking like, oh, I'm gonna just go buy myself some weed, buy some drink and smoke and chill out here. That was little mind thinking I was thinking at the moment. So at this time, I was making money, but I wasn't making money. I was, you know what I'm saying? Like I was only making it to hustle to what I wanted to do, but it wasn't the money that I've made prior later on in life, right? Because at the same time, like I said, I've been taking care of myself this whole time. No one took care of me. If I lived somewhere for little bills for a while till I got my own shit, bam, there you go. I started having my own stuff, right? So I remember at this time in the neighborhood that I got put on, I have a co-defendant. We're gonna name this guy Manny. That's what we're gonna call him, Manny. All right, now look, the way I remember this, it was I must have been around October-ish, about 15 years ago, 15 to 20. I can't get a precise time on it, but I remember this. Watch. So I remember my name is ringing in the neighborhood. I'm popping. Everybody knows me. A lot of stuff that's going on, it ain't happening unless I have something to do with it because I'm the one that's usually doing it. And that's when I was with my little pistolier partners of words, just packing pistols, drawing down, getting, doing whatever we wanted. Like I said, in this neighborhood, I did whatever I wanted, and not everybody could do that. If you did something that was gonna shortstop my money, there was going to be some problems and repercussions. So at the same time, nothing went on around this neighborhood unless I had something to do with it or I knew about something that was going with it. So I remember one time right out, and this neighborhood was cracking. It was like, I don't know if you guys ever seen that movie Studio 54 where everybody went because it was just live. You seen everybody. Well, that's how this neighborhood was. It didn't matter what time of the day you went. It was cracking. There was crackheads. There was prostitutes. There were like the living dead. You would see smokers all day and night, right? So I remember, and we would do young shit. Like I said, we were young. We would do stupid. Now, hindsight, when I look back, I think about the stupidest shit to ever do. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like common sense. But I learned. No, I told my friend this the other day. You know what? When I was doing bad things, bro, I didn't. You know who showed me the game? Like, you know who literally showed me the game? Nobody. I taught myself like a like a work like a learn while I work type of job. That's how I learned the game. I learned by myself. I picked it all up. I watched people, but I put it together and then I started making mistakes. I started not making mistakes, but I learned it all by myself. No one gave me nothing for free. Believe me, everything I got I've earned. So I already knew how to hustle. I knew I had a mouthpiece of a gorilla, you know what I'm saying? So, anyways, my name was already big in this neighborhood. I'm talking about cracking. I'm talking about when I jumped onto the neighborhood, everybody knew me already. They knew that I'm the one. I had it. I had it all the time. I had what you need too. So the dope fiends, the prostitute, they knew what we had. They knew that I was the man to go to, right? But I remember one time I was walking, and this dude, my co-defendant, his name was Manny. So this guy Manny walks up to me, and goes, "Hey, Hugo, hey Hugo." Now I think I'm gonna couple my buddies. Like, "What's cracking, man?" He goes, well, let me put the way the neighborhood is. It's a main street that we call the main street, but it's not a main street. It's an off street. But that's where we kicked it at. It was the stairways. There's like let's say there's four stairways right on this one street, and that's where we all kicked it out in the stairways. And like I said, there is a gang. There's a black and Mexican neighborhood, so that's all there was. Black and Mexicans. That's all there was. So in every hallway, like I said, we're all one big gang, but we all had different crews. I made my crew, so I had my crew when I was rolling with me. Those are like Little Enrique's part of my crew. My other homie, he was part of my crew. I had about two or three dudes on my crew, but I had some solids, some solids. We were pistoliers, right? We're like Billy Kid and his little renegades. That's what we were. So I remember I was walking, and oh yeah, like I was saying, we would do stupid ass shit. Like this is the part I couldn't understand till now, and I got older and I think that I was dumb. We would beat up smokers, and you might be thinking like, well, what do you mean? You go like, I don't know why. I don't even know. I think because we were drunk. But anyway, smokers were going to the neighborhood, and I'm talking about youngins. We're talking about men, grown adult men. We would serve them their drugs, and then when they're leaving, just because we were high and drunk, we'd go over there and we start beating them up, and it'd be like I'm telling you, there's several different groups of crews in this gang in this neighborhood, right? So you had like my crew, then the blacks had their little crew, then the younger blacks they had their little crew, then another across the street. Okay, that dude Manny, right? He was kind of the big timer for the Mexicans at this time, but since I made a big splash in the game, shit started turning. I started coming up, but not that big yet. But my name started ringing like that, right? So we all had different little crews, but we're all one big gang. And if something went wrong, we all went at it. Sometimes we'd have like we might fight amongst each other. It's not like viciously fighting, but arguments and whatever between other crews. But we just squash it, or someone would get in a fight or something, and we squash it and go back to business because this is a $1 million spot, right? But I remember, so we would do stupid shit like that, right? So I remember I was walking, and then that dude Manny, he walked up. He's like, "Hey, Hugo," and I was like, "What's up, man?" Like I said, I'm over here strapped up, whatever. So he's like, "Hey, man, they got you on a I just bailed out and they got you on this crime." I go, well, what do you mean they got me on the crime? He's like, yeah, dude. He's like, they got you for this, and that. And I was like, what? He goes, yeah, it's not even you. And I go, first of all, I knew it wasn't me because whatever he was talking about had nothing to do with it. But that's how big my name was in the neighborhood. Like people were just trying to, not even the people, the gang unit didn't like me at all. So they're trying to tie me to everything so they didn't get me, right, because they could never get me. They always raided me. They jumped out on me on probation and they just checked me. I'd walk with my friend, police would jump out and just be like, Hugo, and I'm like, oh snaps, and then they start. I knew the drill, so I wasn't gonna run. I'm like, man, whatever, right? They pat me down. They wouldn't find nothing, never, right? Because I always put my stuff up. Like I said, it was a cat and mouse games. I was against them, not the other things that come with the game. So I already knew, don't keep your stuff on you. If you have something, keep it by in case something pops off. If you have it, little things like that I already knew about, right? So like I said, it was nighttime when this dude, man, he told me this. He told me, like I said, it's about almost like 9 or 10 o'clock. I remember I was walking at the neighborhood still popping at this time. So even the tenants loved us, you know what I'm saying? At first they hated us, then after I changed my ways, the tenants loved us, you know what I'm saying? But I remember one time a tenant told me like, hey, the police drove by here and they're asking for your name. They're asking the kids if they knew who you were. And I'm talking about the little kids, right? And I'm thinking like they were. They're like, yeah, they're like telling the kids to stay away from me. You're a bad guy. And I'm like, man, and somebody's mom told me this, and I'm like, man, that's crazy, man. But they knew we were out there just doing our thing, getting our money, so we weren't causing no problems to the tenants. We weren't doing nothing like that to them. The tenants were off limits. Um, like I said, that dude, man, he met me on the street. And he's like, hey, he go, come here. And I go, what's up, man? He goes, hey, man, they're trying to get you for this hate crime. I go, hate crime? He goes, yeah, man. Right here. He showed me his paperwork. He goes, here. He's all, look, they're trying to get you. Here's your name right here. And I looked. I was like, what? And then he goes, yeah, man. He's like, I just bailed out. So I'm fighting around. I'm just letting you know. I seen it. I don't even know how your name got involved in this. And I was thinking, man, that is crazy. And then I go, well, I didn't do it. He goes, no, I know you didn't do it. He's like, but I'm just letting you know that they're looking for you. The police is looking for you. And I was thinking, like, what? So I was like, man, whatever, right? That wasn't like I said, a lot of things was going on at this time in the neighborhood. So it was like no thing to hear something like that because, like I said, I didn't do it. So I was like, I had nothing to worry about, right? Well, anyways, about a week and a half goes by. Nah, let's say about a month goes by. Maybe a month and a half go by. I'm ducking and dodging. I'm not necessarily running from the cops because I'm still doing everything I normally do, but I'm more careful just because I'm getting my money or whatever. And then I remember one of my buddies, right? He had I called him the other day to find out what kind of car exactly. Like, look, I'm from the old school, and I'm not talking about oldies. Try me. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about old school, like Easy E, Pac and them, Ronnie Ojo, Cooley, all them, right? So I liked this is the time when Mac J was cracking. There were scrapers, there was old schools on 22s. So I like that. Me personally, I like that. I didn't care too much for the low riders on what 14-inch spoke rims. I didn't care too much about that. So I didn't really care about an old school, right? But I remember I made some money, and then one of my buddies he told me he's like, "Hey man, I got this '81 color Supreme. You want to buy it?" And I said, how much, right? And I think they needed money, so it wasn't super a lot. So I was kind of like, okay, but the way this car was, it was decked out. It was a lowrider. I'm talking about it was a lowrider. It had the little rims, the little car. It was decked out, graphics on it and everything. So I was like, cool. And at this time though, my license has been suspended, so I was kind of worried about driving. In my neighborhood, you didn't have to drive. You go there, and everything's in the neighborhood. We had people's moms selling meals and shit in case so you don't ever have to get off the block. Everything in the block that you needed was there. The only time you probably leave is go to the corner store to get your little blunts, whatever you needed, right? But come back. But everything in the neighborhood in the block was there. Your bud, your if you needed to eat, someone was always selling something, right? So I just bought this car. And the reason why I remember this specifically, because I would always use a fake name, right? When I was on the run and stuff, I always use a fake name. And this fake name that I use, I apologize, man. It was one of my foster brothers, but I told him those several years ago. And Moses, I'm sorry about. I used it for a long time, but anyways, look. So my foster brother, right? I would use his name, and I would get away because he was squeaky clean at that time, right? So I remember it was the craziest thing. I remember it was December 24th. It was Christmas Eve, and mind you, my birthday's the 16th, right? So it was like 9 days after my birthday. Yeah, about something like that, right? It was my birthday. So I remember I was on the west side, and I think I was living on the I think I was living on the on the east at this time, right? So after I was done doing what I was doing on the west, grinding and staying out all night, I jumped in my car on my lowrider. Mind you, like I said, I don't have insurance or license at this time, so I jumped in this lowrider, and I'm still getting used to learning how to drive this car, right? Man, what you know about? I went. This when they barely made that Taco Bell on coffee. They barely had made that Taco Bell on coffee, right? So I think I left the neighborhood around 2 o'clock in the morning. I left it. Now I didn't really pay attention too much to being stereotyped, which I knew better at this time. I kind of knew better, but I remember I was now that I think about it, I'm thinking, like, man, I'm here driving a car uninsured, no license. It's a low rider. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a car you would look at if you drove by for sure. You're looking at that car, right? So, anyways, I'm over here. I go, I'm gonna go get something to eat before I go home. So I left the west about 2 o'clock. Mind you, I'm probably smoked out and whatnot. I go inside the Taco Bell through the drive-thru. I went through the drive-thru when I now I went through the drive-thru. I ordered what I had to order. It probably was a little 10 pack of the soft tacos and the crunchy tacos because you know what I'm saying your boy be fucking with those. I mean messing with those. Excuse my language. So I went through the drive-thru, and when I came out of that drive-thru, I got back on coffee and I started trying to leave, and I looked behind me and I seen the police, and I'm like, oh, mind you, I'm by myself. So I looked and I'm like, oh shit, right? And at this time I was selling crack, right? Crack cocaine, and I was just doing bad things. So I had that on me, so I had to hide that real quick, right? Well, the police burst me, blue, blue, right? So I pulled back into Taco Bell, and the police gets behind me, and he shines his light on me. He's like, hey, you know why I pulled you over, right? No, I was like, no. I said, do you have license and registration? I don't have license and registration on me. I go, well, what's your name? I go, now, mind you, like I said, I've been wanted now for that hate crime that dude Manny had told me about, right? I was wanted for that now. Now I knew I had a warrant because they've already went to the neighborhood a couple of times looking for me. So I started thinking that's kind of odd, right? Now they're looking for me. So I ended up, like I said, I would duck and dodge, but I would still be in the neighborhood. Like I said, the tenants loved me, so I was in and out all the time. I had access to like about 4 or 5 different apartments, so it was just lovely, right? So when I get put over, the cop, like I said, he goes, license station, I got a license. Okay, well, what's your name? And I told him, I told him my name was Moses, right? Sorry, Moses. I know you're probably watching that. I apologize, brother. But anyways, look, so I told him my name was Moses, right? And then he goes back, and then he comes back. He goes, he goes back. I told him my first and last name. He goes back, does a little computer thing, comes back and walks up to me, and then he goes, okay, look, I'm gonna tell you this right now. I go, yeah. He goes, look, man, that's not your name, dude. He goes, let me know, tell me your name right now, and I won't charge you a false identification. And I was like, dang. I go, Hugo. He goes, yeah. He goes, what? And I told my last name. He goes, yeah, that's who I got. I knew it was you. And I was thinking, like, how do you know that we have a picture of you? Be on the lookout for you. And I was like, what? He's like, so when they put that on the computer, that I was up, right? And I was like, oh, snaps, right? And then I go, like, why'd you pull me over? He's all, you drove into Taco Bell. I seen you drive into Taco Bell from across the street. He's all, and then when you pulled out, you didn't have your headlights on. It's an 81 Color Supreme. These are the ones you pull out for your headlights. They ain't the automatic ones, but hey, that means that from the west side all the way to Coffee, I was driving with no lights on. So I'm even surprised I didn't get pulled over prior to that, right? So, anyways, he pulled me over. He goes, okay, we got you on this crime with the whoop. And I was thinking like, dang man, now I'm wanted, but for several different things, little things though, little minor things. But this was the big one right here, the one that the hate crime they got me for, right? So I was like, okay, they take me to jail. Now I'm in jail and I'm fighting this hate crime. And I'm sitting down there thinking like. So imagine this. Like I said, I paid for the crimes. I don't mind doing my time for a crime if I get convicted. I don't mind. Part of the game. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? I'm a man. I did wrong. Punish me. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't imagine being in jail and not knowing what you're in jail for. Like someone can walk up to you right now, and this is what I mean. But I started thinking crazy outside my head, like in conspiracy things, right? Like man, what? So the gang unit didn't like me, so they're always trying to pick. put something on me or trying to really get me. I went to jail, but the gang unit took me to jail when I turned 18 for $10 worth of Red Bud back in the days. That's how much this gang unit guy that didn't like me. It was Officer Raw Poe right there. That guy is a little Asian cat, right? I think he's a detective now. But anyways, salute to you, man. You're doing your job. I ain't even mad at you. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? We went in a couple. Me and him got in a couple chases. I beat him a couple times. A couple times they caught me. So it is what it is. But I remember so imagine not knowing what you're in jail for. So I'm in jail, not knowing what I'm in jail for, and I go to my first court date. They give me my discovery on what I'm in jail for. Now they got me for a hate crime. Now at this time, I don't know what year it was either. At this time, it was a hate crime, and it was because, excuse my language, it was because they said that they said that I beat up a faggot, and while you beat up a faggot, you killed him a faggot. That becomes a hate crime. Now at this time, it was years. It was, I don't know what year it was, but it was when that time back in the days when a kid had got bullied at school and they called him a faggot and they beat him up and then people that beat him up it went like worldwide exposure like it went big, and at this time they're really punishing that. You know what I'm saying? For those kind of crimes, they're really punishing them. The people that ended up beating up that gay dude, they got some time for that. So at this time, that crime right there was pretty big. Like to do a hate crime was kind of like it was really bad. Really at that moment, it was really bad. It's kind of like when getting caught with weed like 15 years ago, it was bad, but now it's like what? But anyway, you shouldn't be beating up anybody for anything of their ethnicity, of their religion, of their sexual whatever. You shouldn't be putting your hands on nobody. That's their individualities, and that is what they choose to do with their life. So let them be them. Let them live their life. That's what I gotta say about that. But anyways, like I said, and I wasn't what is it called? I wasn't like I didn't hate gays. You know what I'm saying? I didn't care. I didn't care to at all. Like good or bad. I had no bad things to say about them. No good things to say about them. I didn't care. It had nothing to do with me. So I didn't. I had no. It's not like I was running around just seeing someone gay and be like, oh you. I just didn't care. Even back then, I didn't care about that shit. But like I said, I read my discovery, and on discovery it said that you're in here for a hate crime for beating up, for calling the victim a faggot when he was getting beat up. And then I was thinking like beat up. I don't even. First of all, look, I don't even know who the victim was. Like they it had his at that time the name was blanked out, so I didn't even know who they're talking about. But what was I gonna say? I didn't even know the victim's name, who even was. Now I had two co-defendants. One was that dude Manny, and then the other dude he never got caught. I know it was, but we won't say his name. But he never got caught, right? And then they got me, and I was more tripping off like I was more tripping off of like why did they get me when I had nothing to do with it. I wasn't even around with that dude Manny. That wasn't even part of my crew. That dude Manny had his own crew. He had about 5 or 6 Mexicans that he ran with, right? But they didn't hang with our crew. I had my own crew. They kind of hated a little bit on me because I came out of nowhere and I just started putting it down. So he was kind of like they're kind of hating on me, but it's okay. Like I said, it all comes with the territory. But but so I remember I was sitting in jail and I read the discovery and they described me as the third suspect. The third suspect, the the uh the description on him was a short, stocky guy with a tailpiece. Now, mind you, if you look, hold on, let me see. You can see. I'm a tall, lanky dude, and at that time I had some hair back here, but it wasn't a tailpiece. So first of all, I'm looking at it, I'm like, how can they just get me for something that I've never did and describe me as a third suspect when I have nothing that looks like this guy at all, right? So I'm sitting in jail, and then I go to my first court date. They arraign me. They tell me, you need a public defender. I said, yep. At this time, like I said, I wasn't up to there yet with my money, so I couldn't even buy a lawyer, and I had to get a private defender, and I couldn't even bail out. So I was fighting it. But my co-defendant, Manny, he was out on the streets fighting the case, right, while I was in jail fighting this case. Now, Now I was in jail. Man, I got my lawyer, right? I got not my lawyer, but my public defender on my next court date. And then I was telling her, I was like, hey, I think I've already been in there now. I've been there like a month or two, and I tried to tell her like, hey, well, I seen her one time, she postponed it. I seen her again, she postponed it. And then one time she came to see me, she goes, yeah, you know what? They got you as third suspect, but that don't fit your description. I'm like, no, because I didn't do it. I go, I'll tell you the truth if I did it. I go, but I didn't do this. I don't even know what they're talking about. I don't even know who the victim is. I don't know none of this stuff. Someone just came up to me and told me this. They're like, who? Because at the same time, my defense was, I don't even know. I was saying, I don't know the victim or I don't know the guy they're saying that's my co-defendant. I don't know these guys. That's what I was telling them, right? And she's like, okay. And he was saying the same thing, like, I don't know that cat, right? So we're like, I don't even know what you guys are talking about. But they had me in jail, right? So I've already been there for like 2 months. I get another court date. It's like 3 months now. I was talking to my lawyer. My lawyer tried to tell the judge, like, "Hey, I don't know why my defendant's in here when you guys got him as a third suspect and he's not short, stockier with a tailpiece." At that time I had cut my hair when I was in jail. I had cut it, so now I was kind of like, let me see, maybe something like this, maybe something like that, a little shorter, right? So, anyways, I was sitting in jail and I was thinking like man, that's crazy, man. But at this time when I was in jail, I was a trustee, so I was over here. You know what I'm saying? I was able to go out as much as I wanted. We had our TV up there. We can watch at any given time. We had little jobs in the jail, but at the same time, we had a dorm type living thing. And this is what I was trying to tell you about the little PTSD, of the little. It's hard to change your mindset from being somewhere confined to living life of other rules to coming out to this real world to try to what's the word? To try to like live normal. Because I'm gonna tell you something. Anyone that's been locked up, I don't care if it was for just a day to 10 years, it's traumatizing. Straight up. Straight up. It is traumatizing. I'm not even lying. You ever been put in handcuffs with the chrome bracelets? You ever been left alone and then your say so don't mean nothing. Your word don't mean nothing. Okay then. Well, that's jail, right? So imagine being like that and then having to come out and live this world and just like I said, it's traumatizing. That does create real PTSD. Like believe me, that and some of my friends in the army, it creates it for them. So I think it goes hand in hand with that. You don't never forget that. You'll never forget that feeling of coming out, right? Like I said, though, at this time I was we had a little TV right there. We shared it amongst the three groups in jail. So I remember I was sitting down. Now when they do your court dates, is they try to prolong it as long as they can so the DA can get better evidence on you and so your lawyer or public defender could try to find a better way to beat it for you or get you a better deal, right? So at this time I'm over here sitting down and then like now 4 months have passed by and we've gone to court dates, nothing's changing still. My co-defendant Manny, he's still out on the streets, he's still out there fighting his case. The neighborhood thing's still going on. I'm calling back. I'm calling the homies from jail. They're giving me updates and telling me how it is. We were still cracking out there. I'm all right, cool, man. They said don't worry about it. You do what you do, and I was like, all right, I'm cool. I'm gonna stay solid in here. And then like 4 months go by, 5 months go by. Finally, I get a court date. Now I get a court. This is called your preliminary hearing. I think that's what it's called, the preliminary hearing. Now this is the one where it's like a little. Oh no, this is before the preliminary hearing. I had one more court date. When I went to that court date, I remember I seen my lawyer before I went to in front of the judge, and I told the lawyer, I go, hey, put me in a lineup. And she goes, that's what I was thinking. We're gonna put you in a lineup. I'm all right. Yeah, yeah. Put me in a lineup. That's how they'll, what I mean? That's how they'll exonerate me. If the guy doesn't pick me, why would I be in jail, right? I go, put me in the lineup. They go, okay. So, so I had a scheduled lineup, right? I had a schedule for a lineup. Well, that night before the lineup came, so many things went through my head. I started thinking about all the bad things I did and got away with and didn't get caught. Now I'm starting to think, what if the victim, he points me out because he knows me or knows of me or fears me or something from that neighborhood, right? So now my own thoughts are killing me. So that night I couldn't even sleep at all. In my mind, I'm thinking man, what if that guy? What if I get in the lineup and the guy does pick me? What if he's like, who is it? And then he points me because they're gonna put five guys up there. So I'm thinking like, what if he points me out? So now I'm starting to really think about all the bad things I did in life. Like, oh my god, man, you know, a lot of things going through my head. I didn't do this crime at all. I didn't do this crime. So I'm more tripped out about it. But I started thinking in my mind, like, well, what if they do pick me? You know how weird, how messed up of a life that would have been? So imagine all these stories I've told you so far, and the way my story ends now is because of this, because I got blamed for something I didn't do. And let me tell you something, it's not like it doesn't happen. It's not like I'd be the first, like, oh my God, I'm the first one it happened to. Man, that's been happening for decades. People get falsely accused of something, right? The person forgets, oh, it wasn't them, or you know what, I thought it looked like them, or you know what. So a lot of things were going through my head, thinking about like, oh my God, man, what if this dude really picks me out now, or female, whoever it was. Like I said, I didn't know who it was. On every time on Discovery, it blacks out the victim's name, so you can't tell someone to. So you can't basically go call one of your friends and tell them this is the name. They go look for them and beat them up and intimidate the witness or none of that. That's why they black it out, right? So I'm kind of thinking like, man, what if this dude or whoever it is points me out? So I'm sleep. Couldn't had an endless night that night. Couldn't even sleep. So so the next morning when I go to the lineup, now I'm scared. Now I'm gonna tell you the truth. Now I don't even want the lineup. Straight up, oh man, I don't even want the lineup. Don't even put the lineup. I feel like it's gonna go against me anyway. So I was like, I didn't even want to do the lineup, but it's already set in stone. So I had to do the lineup. I want to do the lineup. What was crazy about the lineup, like I said, they usually put five people right there. You're one of the five, right? What was crazy about this lineup, though, when I was walking into the lineup, they made us dressed in normal clothes. We went dressed back in our normal clothes, right? They let me dress back in normal clothes. When I went into the lineup, there's five numbers. You got to stand under one, two, three, four, five. You stand under one of those numbers, and so does the other four people that are gonna semi look like you. Because at first they show you a photo lineup, right? And if they don't put you in the photo lineup, then they're gonna put you. Because they said that they did pick me out of the photo lineup. So now they're gonna do a live lineup, right? Because so they put it. But when I went into the room for the lineup, I looked and I see my co-defendant, that dude Manny. He was in the lineup as well. So I'm trying, like I said, when I looked at him, he looked at me. I'm pretending I don't know nobody. I don't know my co-defendant. I don't know the dude, the person that happened to, or the other co-defendant they still haven't found, because they still haven't found the third guy, right? So, so I'm sitting there and I'm thinking like, what, right? Anyways, the lineup happens. My lawyer comes back and goes, they didn't pick you out. Like, I didn't do it. They couldn't pick me out. She goes, but they didn't pick you. This is good for you. I'm like, I know it is. I didn't do it. She's like, yeah, but we got to fight it. This is better. Now we could tell the judge. I go, all right, cool. Now they gave me another court date a little further, right? I think it was like another month and a half. So now I've been there about like 6 months. I've been in there 6 months. I've been in there for 6 months for a crime I've never committed. I've never did. So imagine that. Imagine everything that you go through in your head. Imagine everything you go through in your head from being somewhere that something you never did, and you can't just walk out. So that really messed up. That really messed my head. In jail, I didn't already give my life to God that time. Um, I was already like, you know what, man, I gotta do better than this, right? This is I'm asking God, hey God, help me out, please, I didn't do this. But then I started thinking, you know what, God's probably like, look, you didn't do this, but I let you get away with a lot of other things that you should have went down for. He's also be grateful for this, right? So while that's going on, while I'm thinking all this in my head, I started thinking like, I've been in jail already for like 6 months for something I never did. That in my mind, I told my lawyer, I was like, hey, like, what are they offering me? That's how much time I was already done did, that I was thinking like, they don't have me for a lineup. They don't have me as a third description of the description of what the third suspect is supposed to look like. I was like, what are they offering? Like if they offer a year, I'll take this year, and I already have 6 months in. I'll do like 2 more months. Cause you do 8 months out of a year. I go, then I'll be out of here. That's how much this messed with my mind that I was willing to admit to something I never did just to get it over with. And I think this happens a lot in jail. A lot of people that go to prison, a lot of people that go to jail. And I'm not saying they didn't do their crimes. I'm just saying from all that time of stressing and because the world stops for you in jail. It stops. It stops. Everything that you've known from the last 6 months had stopped, but the world outside has just kept going. Everything kept going. Things changed. You lost girls, you got girls. This happened, that happened. Someone else got locked up. Stuff is rotating out on the streets, but inside you just remember the last moments, so you don't really know what's been going on from what people tell you, but you can't understand that. You're in jail thinking like, oh, okay. So I'm already thinking, you know what? When I talk to the lawyer, I'm gonna just see how much they're trying to give me. So I'm over here about to admit to something I've never did, cause jail breaks you. That's how I always felt to me about jail. That always broke me. Every time I went to jail, it broke my heart. It broke my soul. It broke my pride. It broke my ego. I was thinking like, man, I'm from the streets. I'm from prison. I'm from jail. This ain't for me right here though. Even though knowing that the consequences was this at the end, but I still didn't want to understand that. So I'm already ready to tell my lawyer like, what are they giving me? I mean, right? And then so my court date's already up. It's been 6 months in jail locked up. So I'm over here eating top ramens. I'm over here sandwiches. I'm over here working at the cops. The for the cops, they got a little salad buffet that they have in the little break room. I would go over there. I would steal all their little food and take it into the jailhouse dorms and make some big old spreads and stuff. But that's another that's something else. Right? But anyway, so I was already willing to admit to something I never did. I never did. I even asked God I like should I just admit to this? That's where I got to that point in my head. Like I'm gonna just go ahead and admit to this because of all the crimes I got away with. Hey, this is worth it if I could only do a year or less, right? So, anyways, there's gonna be a part two to this. Remember, I'm in jail. I've done already done 6 months. I'm already willing to tell my lawyer I'll take whatever time they're gonna give me if it's a year. So I'm gonna catch you guys back with the next part to this story. You're gonna watch at the end what really happened, man. That's what I say. If you don't believe in God, this is the reason right here. This is the reason why I did. But anyways, I'll see you guys in the next couple of days. I'm gonna drop this so you guys can have this tomorrow. You did. You guys stay blessed, stay safe, love each other, and all that good stuff. If you guys don't know about who this is, learn about it. This is Jiu Jitsu King royalty right here. You feel me? Anyways, keep your head up.